Cece, and on behalf of Scrapbook Centrale, I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Tutorial Tuesday. This week's format will be a little different than the past videos in that I'll show you 4 different techniques you can do with paper tape. So rather than show you how to put together a card, I'll go into details about the techniques and then show you the finished cards. Paper tapes, or washi tapes as it is sometimes referred as, are self-adhesive decorative tapes which are made of, well, you guessed it, paper. Each of them features beautiful designs and colors. Apart from being decorative as is on a scrapbook layout or a card or any other paper project, they can also be used in many different ways. The fact that they are repositionable gives you the freedom to use them in various techniques. Plus, you can tear them with your fingers. Now today I'll be using this set of 2 rolls from the Avalon collection by Bazzill. We have a vast selection from other collections and manufacturers, and I encourage you to come and take a look at them the next time you're in the store. Let me show you the cards I put together. Each one of them features the paper tapes in a unique way. This first card features the 2 tapes from the Avalon collection as well as the coordinating paper. As you can see, I have stamped a sentiment from the Hero Arts Everyday Sayings stamp set on 3 torn pieces of tape. I advise you to use some type of permanent ink like archival ink or StazOn for better results. I also included another piece of tape right here to accent the strip of yellow chevron for added interest. And in case you're wondering, this beautiful background paper that I use is called Floral, and it is from the Avalon collection, again by Bazzill. I also added some bling here in the middle of flowers with some diamond stickles. Now that's pretty straightforward. Now let's kick it up a notch. What if you wanted to personalize a sentiment on your card, or use a quote that you love? This is exactly what I did here by printing directly onto the paper tape. Now let me show you how I did this. Because this tape is made of paper, it will allow you to print on it with your inkjet printer. One word of caution, do not use this method with your laser printer. It will not work. A laser printer has a heat setting. You risk the chance of melting the adhesive that's underneath your tape, therefore you won't be able to remove it. Now another thing too is that these tapes are repositionable, and this is why we are able to do this technique. So I've gone ahead and printed this quote that I really like from my printer. I'm going to cover each word with the tape, making sure to line up exactly where I want the words, and I'm just going to tear. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to run this through my machine as is, and make sure that all your sticky ends are really well adhered to your page so that it doesn't get stuck in your printer. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll come back and show you how it looks. Before you go ahead and use these strips, let them dry carefully so that you don't smudge them. So I would suggest in the meantime, maybe preparing your card. Okay, so I've got my card base here prepared, and as you can see, I started removing some of that tape. I'm going to go very carefully so as not to tear the paper underneath. And I'm going to start by my middle piece. I have 5 strips that I want to add to my card. So I'm going to start by the middle, and I'm going to be placing this right here, like so. Just want to make sure that everything is straight. I'm not going to press down too hard at this point because just in case I want to change something. So I'm going to grab my other strip that goes right over that. This is a great way to add personalized sentiment on your card. If you want to write maybe the name of the person, or if it's an important date, you can write the date. Again, I can't stress it enough. Give ample time for the ink on your tape to dry. And you'll have to forgive my dirty fingers. I was playing with some Dylusion ink earlier. And so I will just adjust the lines as I want them. Alright, give it a good press upside down just in case my text is not completely dry. And it wasn't, as you can see by, I don't know if you can see some of the residue of the ink here. So So it's always a good idea to manipulate these very carefully. I didn't really allow a lot of time for it to dry, so you might want to leave this dry a little bit longer. I completed this card by adding some bling into this flower onto the posies paper from Bazzill as well, and a strip of rhinestones right here, just to bring everything together. The third card I want to show you has this fun pleated ribbon that I made using paper tape and an actual ribbon. Now what's cool about this is that you don't need additional adhesives since the paper tape has it on already. Here's how I did the pleated ribbon. I have a 12-inch piece of ribbon here. I'm using taffeta. You could also use seam binding. You can use silk. Anything that is thin would work best. And I have a piece here of my paper tape. And my ribbon is on my craft sheet because this will allow me to have a non-stick surface when I'm actually gluing the tape. I usually leave the tape on the roll, but I was playing with it, so it's no longer on the roll. So I'm just going to start layering my tape however I want it on my ribbon, and it doesn't have to be precise. So now if I bring my card in, I take my ribbon and I'll start off of my card so that I can cut the edge and have a nice clean edge. And I'm just basically going to ruffle or pleat the ribbon the way I want to. You can make large ribbon pleats, you can make small pleats. Obviously, if you want smaller pleats, you would have to cut your ribbon a little longer. And one more pleat. And there you have it, a pretty ruffled ribbon. This is a very quick card to put together. I used the multi-stripe paper from the collection, the Avalon collection, and the flower was stamped using this stamp set by Hero Arts, and it's number 657852, in case you're wondering. And I also added a rhinestone here in the middle, which is one of the jewels by Doodlebug, and it's the color Ladybug. Finally, I added a border that I punched with a scallop edge punch and rounded the corners. Very simple. Now this last card is probably my favorite. I used the paper tapes to create a pattern paper that I then punched out with a hard punch. And because the paper tape is so thin, you won't damage your punches. Even better, you can prepare your pattern paper, like I'll show you, and run it through your die cutting machine. And you can use pretty much any die that you have because the paper tape is really thin. Here's how I made the heart. Another fun thing to do with your paper tape is to make your own pattern paper and then punch out a shape out of it. So I'm going to show you how I did the heart. And this is just a scrap piece of paper that I probably would have thrown away. And I'm just going to start layering my tape from the bottom up. And it's so easy to tear. I love it. This one here is by Tim Holtz. It's another beautiful paper tape. So I'm just going to make sure that there are no gaps in between my layers, or if you want gaps, that's fine too. Put my red on. And then I'm going to finish with this turquoisey gingham. Like so. And because the paper tape is thin, your punches will go through like butter. And I'm just going to punch that through, and voila, you've got a beautiful heart. It's fun, and it's also a way to use your scraps of paper. So there you have it. I hope this gave you some ideas of what to do with paper tapes. I think they're fun, they're easy to use, and they add a beautiful touch to your cards. As usual, thank you for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below, and I'll catch you next week for another edition of Tutorial Tuesday. Bye!